Crochet Cakes YouTube channel. In today's podcast episode, we are going to be featuring part one of my garment collection. Hello and welcome to episode 97 of the Crochet Cakes podcast. As I said, today we are going to be talking about a garment collection or tour, if you want to call it. Not last week, still this week because today's Saturday, I had posted a little poll on YouTube where I asked if you'd be interested in seeing all the garments I've made these past 4-something years. And the overwhelming majority of you said yes. Well, actually, all of the ones that voted said yes, so I thought, right, let's get down to the business of it. And that is what we're going to be talking about a little bit later on in the episode, but first I have news. You can find any links that I talk about in the description box below, and those include ways to contact me as well as patterns and things that I mention in this episode. Also, excitingly, today we are also going to be talking about the Waltham Abbey Wool Show and my experience as a featured podcaster in the Waltham Abbey Wool Show, as well as some exciting developments for the Crochet Cakes brand channel community that wouldn't be possible without you. So, how are you doing? I hope that you are doing well. I know that different parts of the world are in lockdown. Here in Florida, where I live, we are not in lockdown, but my husband and I are still being very, very conscious and keeping distances wherever possible. You know, unfortunately, not everybody feels the same way. So when you go out to groceries and whatever, some people are just on top of you, and it's it's funny. I think that I don't know about you, but in a little way, I'm starting to fear people. Like, it's not, I don't know if it's a fear of crowds, but yeah, it's like, stay away, virus, go, 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 shoot, shoot, wait your turn, wait your turn. And while I hope that we are all being conscious of keeping and social distancing, I hope that you have not developed a fear of crowds or cabin fever, and that if you are any particular craft, that it's been keeping you sane. And if reading is your vice of choice, then I hope that's been keeping you sane too. So without further ado, I think I'm just gonna crack right on with the garment tour. And when I sat down to film this podcast, I actually took out all the sweaters, shirts, skirts, blouses, any garment that I have made that I still have. And I'm gonna check my notes here because I might forget the number. There are a total of 31 crochet garments that I have made for myself. And I know that this is a lot. Like, I was overwhelmed by this number. And yet, it's not the totality of garments that I have crocheted, because I have gifted some. And if we include those in this little garment talk, then that would be a total of 31, 32, 33, 37 crochet garments. In just the last 4.5 years, just 37 crochet garments, which is, if you break it down, it's 9 garments per year. And I know that's not really accurate because 2018 was my least prolific crochet year. I didn't really make that many garments. That's when I first moved to Florida, and I was really, really struggling with the move. I just didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. It was just really hard. And that was also right after Hurricane Maria as well. So there was a lot of emotional things that I just hadn't processed, and I just happened to be in processing them when I moved to Florida. So that's the total number of garments. And as I said, this is garments. This does not include crochet socks or shawls or hats or pillows, blankets, scarves, home decor, nothing. This is just the garment portion. So as there's a total of 31 crochet garments, I decided to break it down thus. Long sleeve crochet garments, of which I will be talking about today, and there is a total number of 5, including the one I'm wearing. And then we shall be talking about cardigans, and then after we talk about cardigans, we are going to be talking about short sleeve garments. This is where most of the 30 garments come from, and actually here I'm dividing it into 6 wool garments and 14 cotton garments. So that will probably be 2 different episodes because there is a lot. So what we're looking at really is about 4 podcast episodes that will all be garment centric. I will try to break it down for you as well, so in case you're not feeling up to watching so much garment talk, I'll try to make it as interesting for you as possible. And also, before I forget, I had mentioned that I didn't keep all of the garments I crocheted. So this is the count. My sister has 1 dress, and that would be the Spotting Clouds top, which I turned into a dress. She has that, and she also has a Miss DeVille sweater, which which probably don't remember because it's been way too long. This was one of the first things I made, and I do not even think I have a picture of it. If I do find a picture, I will insert it, of course. And my mom has a total of 4 tops that I've crocheted for her. And my husband has 1 sweater. So, whew, that's a lot. But let's get down to business and start with the sweater I am wearing, which you can't really see that well because this is very face focused. So I will insert a picture here. And I am wearing the bark sweater. Now, the bark sweater is a lovely pattern for sale on Ravelry, and it looks a lot more intimidating. Like I'm holding my right arm up and you can see all this lovely cabling and chains, and it looks very, very intimidating. It's really not. Like I said, it's front post double crochet and chains. That's mostly what is made up in this garment. It's really comfortable. I think the notes of what I changed in the garment are included in my Ravelry page, and I'm pretty sure what I did was kind of follow Emma from Potter and Bloom, her alterations. So I was afraid of running out of yarn, which is the story of my life when I decided to attempt any sweater, and I took a pattern out of the sleeves. So they're not even bracelet length, they're about 5 fingers away from my wrist. So I would have preferred that to be longer. And looking back on it, I think I probably have about 20 grams left over, which I can add 10 grams to each sleeve. I also shortened a pattern repeat on the body of the sweater, which is why I decided to shorten a pattern repeat on the sleeves as well, just to keep everything as symmetrical as possible. So when you are crocheting this sweater, it looks short. Boy, does it block. So I hadn't yet blocked it. I just gently steamed this sweater. And the other day I just chucked it into the washing machine, and I'm gonna stand up so I can show you where it used to sit and where it sits now. Right, so that did nothing. So in the picture, you might be able to see it kind of stood hip length. Well, it stretched a lot. Now it's right below my hips, which makes it very comfy, honestly. I have no complaints about this sweater. Well, no, actually I do have one. And it's a very minor thing that you can change. So in the original pattern, when you are crocheting the ribbing, it calls for front post half double crochets. I didn't do the front post half double crochets because I find that you don't really get a lot of stretch with that. So I just continued on doing the front post double crochet stitches. And that's fine. But the thing is that obviously it's going to sit lower on my waist, almost hips. my hips are significantly wider than my waist. So what happens is that it just pulls in the sweater and kind of bunches up to have that weird effect thing that I don't particularly like. But I could have, you know, in hindsight remedied that by increasing the stitch count or increasing a hook size. Speaking of hook size, this is done in a 5mm crochet hook with fingering weight yarn, and I had 300 grams of yarn. It's a tweed fingering weight based from Kayleen, whose Little Bean Loves Yarn. She doesn't dye anymore, unfortunately. That's really a shame because I think she had some of the best Harry Potter colorways. And yeah, I don't think that's if there's anything else left to say about this sweater. Let's move on and really turn the wheel back in time to, I think this is one of the first ones I crocheted. And this sweater is a pattern by Rebecca Velasquez, available in the Quince & Co website. It was intended to be crocheted with fingering weight yarn. I think it's their Finch base. At the time I crocheted this, I lived in Puerto Rico. Hot, too hot for wool, okay? Way too hot. So I really went outside the ball for this one. I couldn't get gauge, so I went and used a DK weight yarn, and this is a wool silk blend. All the details for this will be in my Ravelry page. This is a wool silk blend for the gray, and it's a cotton, this is a linen cotton silk blend for the silver and a cotton linen blend for the green stripes. And I called this my Lime Rita sweater because of the green lime color. This has a beautiful stitch pattern, and it worked really well with the, I don't know if it's striping or blocking of the yarn. And once again, I did that because I didn't think I was going to have enough yarn to, you know, be able to make the entire pattern. But I had just enough. Now, this has been out of rotation for a long while because my husband put it in the dryer and the sleeve part here shrunk significantly, and it's very, very uncomfortable to wear now. The back of the top is different from the front. It is done completely in the silver color, and the sleeves just have a tiny little bit of that green as a pop of color in the sleeves. Now, I also changed the sleeves from the pattern a lot. I don't remember what I did, but I do know I changed the sleeves because I wasn't going to do the long sleeves, and I wanted a little bit of shaping on the sleeves. If you look up the pattern, it's got very wide sleeves. So that's my Lime Rita sweater. I just honestly have vivid recollections of not meeting gauge and then just deciding to do a stitch repeat that would fit my waist and go with that. So I did, if I'm not mistaken, 14 inches because it is crocheted flat and then seamed together at the sides, and I believe the sleeves are also seamed together. Yes, you can see the seam. Okay, so this stitch detailing, it's a beautiful fan stitch. That's what it is, and I love it. I actually really loved wearing this sweater a lot, and because it's linen, it's just draped so beautifully, and it's a shame that I can't use it, and I cannot find the ends to unpick the sleeve opening, and I do not have any of this yarn left over to just cut the sleeves out and just reattach. So I don't know what's going to happen to this one, but I don't want to let go of it because I really like it. So in terms of the next one up of elderly, it is a sweater that I crocheted to wear to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And this was way back in 2017, I believe. And I love it. I love looking at it. I don't actually wear it anymore because it's very woolly wool. And Clarissa's kind of again, attempting projects without having enough yarn, because I only had 2 hanks of this wool, and you can see how I didn't even bother to alternate between the hanks of wool. This was one that Catherine of Crafternoon Treats gifted me after I had bought this one at the bottom from her, and they're both called the Autumn Leaves colorway, but you can see how the one at the bottom has this really cool rippling effect going on, and then the one at the top just has pooling going up. So it's completely different, and in hindsight I would have probably switched this color to the top and this one to the bottom, because I feel that more attention is drawn to the top than to the bottom of it. So I made this sweater really cropped. This is the Adult Crochet Sweater by Bob Wilson 123. It's a free pattern on her website with a PDF download as well as a free tutorial. So this one has what I thought was 3/4 length sleeves, and I honestly used every last scrap of yarn to crochet the sweater, so there's nothing to add to it. And I actually had to finish it with a complimentary maroon plummy, it's more like a plum. Yeah, it's more like a burgundy plum color that is Cascade Heritage. Yeah, they're fingering weight, which is really nice for crochet because it's very thin fingering weight. And I also did that for the bottom because I didn't know how to finish the sweater, and I honestly don't, I think I just did like random spots where I skipped stitches to create a bit of a netting, and then I just did shells at the end. I would not be able to explain what I did, honestly. So check out my Ravelry page for this sweater as well. And it's a very woolly wool, so I don't usually wear it a lot. And added to that, the colors are so autumnal that I would love to wear it, you know, in the autumn, but I can't. And, you know, the sleeves aren't that long that they'll keep my arms warm. So I really need to invest in some generic long sleeve button down shirts that aren't in polyester, because when you wear polyester, it's hot when it's hot and it's cold when it's cold. So that's not very helpful. But yes, this is my Autumn Leaves crochet sweater, I believe I called it. And next up on the list, I don't actually remember which one I crocheted first. So I'm gonna go with this one. This is my Almost a Wallflower sweater, and this is right after I had purchased the book, A Vogue Dictionary of Crochet Stitches. I had seen this stitch, which is a combination of double crochets and then sort of a pinwheel going on here. Sorry about that. My husband just came back from walking the dog, and the dog jingles a lot from his, you know, name tag and his vaccine tag, and you can still hear jingling. So we're just gonna pretend that's not happening and move on. I was going to talk about my Almost a Wallflower sweater, and this was a sweater that I loved the stitch combo of it, and it's found in the Vogue Dictionary of Crochet Stitches, and when I first got it, I knew I wanted to make a garment with it. So I made it in the most basic way possible. It's got no shaping. It's just 2 rectangles seamed together down the sides, and then stitches picked up to make a really wide sleeve, which I actually really like. And right, so I really liked the sleeves. Now, I say my point was to design something, right? Well, it turns out that right as I was getting on Ravelry to look up a pattern from Emma of Potter and Bloom, she had already thought of this idea. So I will link down her pattern down below, and you can find my alterations to her pattern in the Ravelry page for this, which will also be linked down below. Now, unfortunately, if you do not use Ravelry, I do not have these notes written anywhere else. So what I'm going to try is in the future to also do blog posts, so I can refer you to my blog. Right, and my last long sleeve crochet sweater is something that I believe I made in 2018 as well, and it was completely on the fly. It's more of a recipe that you can find on my blog than an actual pattern, because this was designed by me, sort of, and it is a vintage cropped sweater. That's what I've called it, because I was trying to imitate the fit of a 1940s sweatshirt pattern, I believe. And the reason I found this pattern is because I was drooling over by Gum by Golly's Instagram, and she'd made several of these sweatshirts. So I will link her blog post down below so you can have an idea of, actually I'll link my blog post down below, because in my blog post you can find her blog post linked as well, and the recipe for it. So this one essentially is very cropped, and I love wearing it over sweaters, and it starts with a front post, back post rib, and then we go to a variation on what I call a seed stitch, because it looks like seeds, but it's alternating single crochet in the front and back loop. That's what the stitch is. And then we move to double crochet portion, which is really nice if you are bustier, because it makes the shirt very, very wide without having to increase, but you could also increase and then use the double crochets to accommodate for your boobage, of which I have none. So, well, I have anyway. And then we go back to the seed stitch and we do picking up stitches. There's also some videos on YouTube for this sweater just to help you along and show you what I did for the pattern. It's not really a tutorial, it's more of a, this is what I did to make this sweater. And those are all my long sleeve sweaters. They are 5 in total, as I had mentioned right at the beginning. So I hope you enjoyed that throwback, because of all these 5 long sleeve sweaters, the newest one is the bark sweater, and I finished that in 2019 or 2020, so it's not that new either, because we are in 2021. Do I have plans to make more long sleeve sweaters? Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I am working on two sweater patterns, and one of them is specifically for this YouTube channel and blog, and it is a sort of fade stash busting sweater that's been inspired by a store-bought sweater that I've had for years. I bought it in 2012 and I've had it that long, and I've used it that long because I love it. And I had bought it way back when PacSun was actually a cool store, not what it is today. And no offense if you still like PacSun, I just preferred the styles they had before, the materials and the quality that they used to sell before. So I do have that, and I'm not showing it in the podcast because it's going to be its own little how-to video of this is how I've done this, and come join me if you would like. And the other one I'm actually going to get up and get because I do have a lot to tell you about it. And I'm back. So this, of course, does link to what I'm working on, but also links to some amazing news that I've shared already on Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen the beginning of this process. If you do not follow me on Instagram and you would like to, do so. It's a fun Instagram feed, I think. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about this beautiful cake of yarn that I'm holding up. It is not showing up as true to color as I would like because it is actually a cream off-white base with lots of gorgeous speckles, and the speckles are showing up super true to color. And if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen the reel I did, because as soon as I started caking up this yarn, I took it off the ball winder, or the cake winder, and I looked at it, and I looked at my husband, and I said, I need to do a grocery pickup because I need sprinkles. I need sprinkles, I'm gonna make a funfetti cake. And that's what I did. I made a funfetti cake completely inspired by this cake of yarn, and I now feel that that should be something we do together. Pick out a yarn and bake something completely inspired by it, or bake something and find a yarn that represents it. Whichever way. That would be a super fun cal, I think. So anyway, this of course was a sweater, but the most gorgeous, amazing thing from it is that the reason I have this yarn is I applied to a yarn collaboration with Knit Picks and We Crochet Official, and I got accepted. So they accepted my proposal and they sent me the yarn required to make whatever I wanted, and then in this case it was a sweater. And what I'm doing is having a little play with modular crochet. And if you're not familiar with it, because I honestly wasn't until Claudia of Crochet Luna pointed me in that direction, modular crochet is a technique where you measure basically from your collarbone. Well, you chain from your collarbone up to how long you want the sweater to be. Maybe give it a couple extra chains just in case you need more space to crochet. And you just work that up to a certain point, and then you add it on the other side, work that in rows up to a certain point, and then you attach yarn to make up for your shoulders, and you work the back, and then you join and continue working in the round. So it's really based on your measurements and what you would like the sweater to be, which I think is very exciting. And I was 100% correct to think that this Panettone Speckles yarn is completely amazing, and it shows off the speckles are coming up beautifully in the crochet. So not only did they send me this yarn, but they also sent me their issue 5 of their Crochet Magazine, which, by the way, I received an email. They're having a sale on these, digital as well as print. And this magazine is completely beautiful. It has so many garments and beautiful techniques to work with. We have cross stitch over crochet, and we have recommendations, because this was a Christmas edition. They have recommendations of things you can make to give to people. I want this. I'm gonna make that for myself at some point in the future. So it's got some beautiful Christmas decorations, but I want to show you the pageant of garment patterns that's in here because it's amazing. And the featured technique for this issue is mosaic crochet, which is brilliant. And you have 2 patterns in mosaic crochet, if I'm not mistaken. You've got a blanket, a mosaic afghan, and you've also got a pillow, which I think is mosaic crochet. And you've got another gnome pillow that I think I might make for my sister. But here we go. Oh, I love this pillow. And I'm making that for Christmas for our house, definitely. I think I might substitute the blues in here for reds, but I'm gonna leave the browns and tans. And this sweater has to happen. Look at that color work sweater. And it's unisex because they have a male and female modeling it. And it's just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And there's so many sweaters, guys. So you know this is right up my alley. And there's also, look at that one. And they have a Tunisian sweater, which I think would be good to do even for me, that I've only ever done one thing in Tunisian crochet, and it's the Polaris pullover. It just looks very nice. So I really liked this magazine, and I'm so thankful that they sent it because it's got beautiful patterns. The paper is nice and thick, and it's a semi-gloss paper, which I like. Is it matte or semi? No, it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, so I would say it's semi-gloss. I don't really appreciate super glossy magazine paper, so the patterns here are gorgeous. Lots of color work, both mosaic and normal-ish color work. So if you're into that, I highly recommend that you take advantage of their discount and purchase this, because you won't be disappointed. Right, so that is what I'm currently working on, and one of the big news that I had for you, which was that they sponsored a project, which is so exciting. I do have another sponsorship, I think, that's going to be happening, but I'll talk a little bit more about that one later because it's not for sure right now. And it is not with We Crochet Official, it's with another company. And the other thing that I want to talk to you about was the Waltham Abbey wool show. And I'll try to be brief. Suffice it to say that I think I condone, I was very poised because I was freaking out. You know, when you go live, you can't edit any of the junk you say that you don't like. So you have to try and think more about it. And then I always talk and I'm left thinking, oh my God, did I just say that? That sounded so stupid. Why did I say that? But other than that, which is my fault entirely, it was such a fun, enjoyable experience. I got to share the screen with Chrissy Glass, which was wow. And I got to share the screen with Ali, which was like, oh, hi, friend. And I got to share the screen with the Bakery Bears, Kay and Dan Jones. They don't watch this podcast, but I have sure watched them from the very, very beginning. They are actually one of the reasons I decided to podcast, and definitely the reason I learned how to knit socks. So I was very proud of myself for not fangirling, and I think in part that was because it was a moderated talk. So we had Diana just talking us through all the questions, and that helped to avoid the fangirling of hi, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I also shared the screen with Knit 3 Together. They are triplets who knit and crochet, and it was just so lovely to hear their stories and their advice, and more lovely, loveliest of all, it was to virtually take part in a wool show in the UK, which I've been missing because I do have friends in the UK and I miss them. Even though, you know, you try and talk, but anyway, so that was a wonderful, wonderful experience, and definitely one of the good things to one of the good things to start 2021. It was very, very, clearly I have no words. So I should probably cut this off here. But before I go, I do want to say that I'm working through my Hope Basket. I'm going to give you more of an update for that next time I podcast, because since next time I podcast, I'll only be talking about the 3 cardigans that I have crocheted. I can, of course, dedicate some more time to sharing what I'm working on with you, because I am working on a lot of things, a lot of submissions currently. So unfortunately, those will be secret. If they're rejected, then they'll become live. If they're accepted, then they'll have to be secret until a year, because all the submissions I am putting in, only one is for summer, one is for fall, and then all the rest are for winter 2021, which seems kind of crazy to be thinking about that far ahead in the future. But without further ado, thank you so much for tuning into this week's podcast, and I hope that you had fun walking down memory lane with me, looking at all these sweaters that I've made, and thank you for sharing in my good news. Honestly, they wouldn't have been possible without the encouragement and support that I have received in this community, and I just want to thank you for that, because I realize that not everyone is as nice as you guys. So thank you for being here, thank you for taking part, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time to talk about cardigans I have made. Happy crafting! Bye!